Okay, Mr. Watson here, and in this video, staying with the group dynamics, we're going to look at team performance and how we can maximize that team performance, but also look at what makes performance decrease. Okay, so just look at another example of a dominant team. The USA football team. Here, the women, they've won 4 World Cups, 4 Olympic gold medals, 8 CONCACAFs in the Gold Cups, Central America. And as you can see there, they were ranked number 1 continuously from March 2008 to 2014. So a very dominant team, highly successful. So what makes them successful? So in the last video, we looked at team cohesion and how we can make them stick together. But not all teams are successful. It's often thought that if you just get the best individual footballers, put them together, you've got the best team. That's not always the case. I think it's quite clear Paris Saint-Germain, when they got taken over by new owners, they got all the money, they start buying the best players, but still made no impact in the Champions League. They still have not won it. Same with Manchester City. They have had success in the league, but they had a core group of players who were there for a while. It took them a while to get to that success. So we're going to look at why sometimes that happens. You've got the best players, but you're not performing the best that you can. So we're going to look at Steiners Model here. He had a model for this. And quite simply, he looked at the relationship between the individuals in a group and their group performance. And what he said was actual productivity, so the output, equals potential productivity minus losses due to faulty processes. So we're going to look, so what that means is what you actually get is how much potential you have in that performing stage in the development, minus things that go wrong, and then that gives you where you actually finish in the league. So you start out the season, you've got the potential to finish first, but if some things go wrong, you might end up finishing third. You haven't reached that full potential due to losses in faulty processes. So we're going to start with the faulty processes. And what Steiner found was, he said, we have these things called coordination problems. And this is if coordination and the timing of team members do not match. So in team strategies like offensive plays, corner plays in hockey, if the coordination and timing of the team doesn't match, the tactic will suffer and the strategy will suffer. Just going to have a look at a couple of examples, or one example of this. Again, this is a video embedded from YouTube. It's not my video. Let's go to a minute here. Okay. So fast break. And he doesn't look and he doesn't get the ball. So it's going to slow it down here. So you can see there's a timing problem on the fast break. Fast break's one of their strategies. It's not quite working. Coach is disappointed. So there's no look. Completely misses his player. And that's an example of a poor timing problem. The number 2 there just assumed his player would be ready to receive that pass. The other player wasn't aware when he was going to release it. It was a coordination, a timing problem. And I'm sure you'll know lots of examples of that in football, bad passes, rugby, just having that poor timing. So that was one aspect, coordination problems. Then we had motivation problems. So if teammates are not motivated to the same extent, they'll be pulling in different directions and the potential of the team will not be realised. So what that means is you have one player might just be there to play with their friends. The other players on the team are there to win. They have different motivations and that can cause an issue. And in this example here, it's a pre-season friendly. And Balotelli here is not motivated to beat this team. He thinks the task is too easy. But you'll see his teammate wants to beat them and is disappointed in him. So rather than just scoring, he shows disrespect. Look at his teammate there. Different motivation. Why have you not scored? I'm here to win. You're here to fool around. So there's different motivations in the team. And it's causing a problem there, as you can see. So these are motivation problems, having different motivations in the team, and you'll often see it in sport. One player won't be trying and the team suffers. Okay, and these motivation problems were given the name social loafing, which we'll come on to in a moment. So the motivational problems being known as in the exam questions you sometimes like to use, what is social loafing? And it's these motivation problems, but we will come on to that. But let's just quickly look at potential productivity. So what about if a team actually doesn't have many faulty processes and they achieve their absolute maximum? So some teams win the league, but it's expected, right? Because of their resources, their training grounds, the players they have, people expect it. So actually the potential of them teams is to win the league, the cup, every tournament that they enter. But some teams achieve their absolute maximum. And in my head, I had We the North. Toronto Raptors in 2019, the first team from North America, even though they're their only team at the moment, the first time they've ever won the NBA Finals. Massive trending on Twitter, We the North. They got their absolute maximum. Will it happen again? We don't know. Okay, it certainly hasn't this year. The Lakers have won it. And then in football, we had Leicester City in 2016. No one on earth thought that they could win the Premier League, but they had such a cohesiveness as a group. The timing was perfect. They were winning games. They didn't have many faulty processes, and they realised their full potential productivity. But I think they even shocked themselves, because I don't think they actually believed that their potential would be to win the league. I think they thought maybe top 4, but they certainly surpassed everything and they maximised everything. And it's probably because not many faulty processes happened in that season for them. Okay, so that's Steiners model. Actual productivity equals the potential you have, but minus them losses, and then that's eventually what you'll achieve. Now let's move on to the Ringelmann Effect, and this is where this social loafing comes in. So Ringelmann performed this study, okay, and he said that there's this effect that when the average individual performance decreases as the group size decreases. Now you might remember from the last video I said if a group gets bigger, team cohesion gets lower, and we have task cohesion and we have social cohesion. But as we can see in this video, we have coordination problems and motivation problems. So what he found was when he introduced this rope pulling activity, that one person would pull the rope and they would achieve 100 units of power. However, when asking them to work as a team, it didn't always equate to the same thing. So we look at the graph here, we look at that potential rising to 800, because when one person was tested on this, in this experiment, he produced 100 units, okay? So then in this experiment, they put 8 people together, but they didn't actually get 800 units. They got half of that. The actual was 400. So it's like, well, why has this happened? Okay, so rather than 8 people pulling 8 times as hard as one person, they only actually pulled 4 times as hard. Okay, so what this study showed was that this loss in performance was due to both coordination problems. So one person might have been pulling at the wrong timing. They weren't doing it together as a group. If you've ever done tug of war sports, you might understand that. But also motivational problems within the group. This was the main cause, and he labelled this as social loafing. So he said that when some individuals lose motivation because they might have thought, oh, well, I prefer pulling it on my own to show what I can do, people just slack off a little bit because there's more of you. Okay, so again, this was known as social loafing. So not even though as the group got bigger, you didn't actually reach that full potential. You only got half of that, and that was due to a loss in group motivation. So let's look at social loafing. So when some individuals in a group lose motivation, so like again, a classic example is when someone in a team is not trying, so the team suffer. And we're just going to look at this video here, again, not my video, embedded from YouTube, okay? But it gives examples of coordination and social loafing, this motivational problems, social loafing, okay? So we're going to skip to hear.
Bad pass from Cousins as Davis turns back. Here's Cantor. Strikes out, finishes. Cousins pushing and shoving. Cantor stop.
Uh-oh. And that was just about as poor defensive play as I've seen. I don't know where DeMarcus was on that, but look at see Cousins is on top of Spates instead of between he and the basket.
Oh, man. So it's this is the second time this has happened.
I'll share at the top of your screen over here. Jason Terry.
And me.
I like the fact that there it is again. Go right down inside.
Lead inside, win with his hand straight on.
It's all over. Nobody can play him down there.
Smart, wide open. Comes back to him. Wide open. Crawford will try.
Thomas has AD.
Oh my God!
Wait a minute. Wait, what?
So in that video, you can see we've got a combination of players losing motivation because one teammate's not trying. Okay. Now there is a reason, might be a reason why he isn't trying. We'll come on to that in a minute. You had some examples of poor timing. That last clip there. He's starting back out. He's passed with his teammate. Teammate's not watching. The ball's gone out. We had some poor timing in the defense. We had some disappointment. So you can see good examples of social loafing in this video. Okay. But we need to know what causes social loafing. What causes people to drop off in that motivation? So the feeling that others in a group are not trying, so they're giving less effort. That was clear in the video. If a player feels that their performance is never valued or watched by the coach, and that can be the same from the crowd, if someone feels like, well, he's always showing favoritism to me, he doesn't actually recognize what I do, my motivation is going to drop. A player with low self-confidence will develop a strategy of social loafing to protect their self-esteem. So they might not try as much because they don't want to be showing that they were trying, because actually, really, they're not confident. Okay, so you also have a player who has suffered a negative experience, so maybe in the form of failure. So they've already had this negative experience, so they'll tend to loaf, they'll tend to not try as much. They're not motivated when they go back into the same environment. And quite simply, if you're playing against a team that's too difficult, you might go to avoidance behaviour. We're already 8 points down in the first quarter. I'm not going to try now. The game's over. So these are some of the causes of social loafing. Now, obviously, as coaches, right, we want to reach our potential. So we want to reduce the faulty processes. How do we reduce them? Coordination problems. Well, select team on their interactive skills. Remember, an interactive team. Teams that have to work together to achieve the goal. Pick good people. Pick people that get on with each other. Okay. Emphasize that good timing on fast breaks or on corner routines, on free kick routines. It's going to lead to better performance. You're going to score more baskets. You might score more goals. And that's going to give you more success in the game. And in training, introduce small-sided games. So mix people who might not usually work together and have them work in a smaller group and improve that timing coordination among them. How do we cut down on the motivation problems, that's social loafing? Use individual statistics. So at the end of a game, say you got 10 rebounds, you scored 23 points and made 2 blocks. Okay, give them that statistics so that they're aware. Show them that you're actually looking at each individual, not just showing favoritism. And then lead that into feedback. So use the statistics to give feedback. I actually thought you played really well. There's your stats. This is what I'd like to see next time, etc., etc. Get peers to give support. You'll always have people in your team that others look up to. Get them to give support and encouragement to others, so not just the coach, so that they actually feel that team cohesion, they feel supported, and a little bit of pressure from your teammates. Come on, you can play better than that. I want to see you do what you did last game when you were playing great. Remind them of that positive experience, but give pressure from the teammates and give individual goals. like in football, this happens a lot. I want you to score 20 league goals. I want you to have 75% success rate at winning headers. Give individual goals so that they'll try to achieve them, and overall you pull together towards the team goal, which might be winning the league. So as you can see in capitals here, improving that social cohesion will help improve that task cohesion. So get some togetherness with the group, and it's going to help reduce these motivation problems. Okay, so in this video we've just been looking at how performance, despite having the best players, can decrease and you don't increase your potential. So how we can try to improve performance as a whole. Okay, thank you.